I know there's going to be some people that are upset about this video. It's just the way that it is. Okay, I'm going to be talking about organ meat. That's going to offend some people. It's also going to make some people squeamish because they don't want to think about eating organs. But there's no denying that organ meat is very, very high in very specific nutrients that we need, especially if we're following some kind of paleo or low carb diet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on 3 organs that are very, very popular. Okay, we're going to talk about heart, we're going to talk about kidney, and we're going to talk about liver. Now in the Western world, most people, if they're even going to consider eating organ meat, they'll only focus on liver. Well, what I want to do is I want to talk about the top nutrients within each respective organ so you know what kind of ratio of each you should really be trying to consume or get from some other supplemental source. Hey, I do ask that you hit the red subscribe button because we have daily videos coming out and I don't want you to miss a beat, but also please do hit the bell icon and select all notifications so you never miss when we do post our daily videos, or better yet, live coaching broadcasts to learn how to eat. All right, let's jump in. The first one I do want to talk about is going to be heart. Now, in the Western world, even people that eat organs and people that are doing keto or carnivore, they usually don't eat heart. Okay, here's the thing. Heart is probably one of the most nutritious, mainly because it is so extraordinarily high in coenzyme Q10. And if you're a devout follower of my channel, you know how much I talk about coenzyme Q10 because CoQ10 is the most powerful antioxidant, in my opinion, at the cellular level. When you look at just a simple serving of heart, we're talking 127 micrograms per gram of coenzyme Q10. Okay, sardines, which are very high in CoQ10 as well, only have 64 micrograms per gram. We're talking literally double the amount of coenzyme Q10 in just a little simple serving of heart. Now, I don't want you to just take my willy-nilly word for it on coenzyme Q10. Let's talk about what this stuff does because it's actually pretty darn cool. All right, so here's what it looks like. When you create energy in your body, you have this thing called the electron transport chain, right? The electron transport chain is just what it sounds like. You are passing electrons down a chain to ultimately get into the cell to create energy. You're passing potential energy to a cell. So I want you to envision like a line of 25 people. I hand an electron to Bob. Bob hands the electron to Sally. Sally hands the electron to Jimmy, and so on down the line. Well, the faster that we move that electron, and the more electrons that are moving, the higher the likelihood of me dropping an electron, or Sally dropping an electron, or Bob dropping an electron, right? Well, when we drop an electron, that electron runs amok throughout the body and triggers what is called a reactive oxygen species, and the body has to work hard to neutralize that rogue electron. So what coenzyme Q10 does is it makes it so that instead of me just handing an electron to someone's hand, they have a big mitt. They can catch that electron a lot easier, so it reduces the risk of it dropping and bouncing around the body. Another analogy would be if I threw 25 baseballs out there and there was only one catcher, he's not going to catch all 25 baseballs, right? But if I give that catcher a massive mitt that's 25 feet wide, he can catch all the baseballs, right? That's basically what coenzyme Q10 does, is it essentially makes it so that the acceptance of electrons is a lot easier, therefore being an indirect and direct antioxidant because it's making it so that you don't start oxidative stress within the first place. But it's highly, highly fat soluble, so it works exceptionally well with fatty acid metabolism, which is exactly what you're utilizing for fuel if you're doing keto or carnivore. And though for those of you that are super science nerds out there, it also creates a better proton gradient between the outer membrane of the mitochondria and the inner membrane of the mitochondria, meaning actually inside the powerhouse itself, it becomes more efficient too. And fun fact, heart has more collagen in it than muscle. So if you're actually eating the physical heart, then you're going to get a heck of a lot of collagen too. All right, now I want to jump into kidney for a second. Another one that people in the Western world don't generally eat a lot of, though a lot of times take it in supplement form, which is great too. We'll talk about that in a second. Kidney is good more so for the B vitamin side of the equation. However, you want to be focusing on a combination of kidney and heart, which I'll explain in a second. You see, kidneys are super high in B12 and B2. Very water-soluble vitamins that we excrete very fast, especially on a low-carb or a carnivore diet, right? So here's what it looks like. B12 forms red blood cells. Red blood cells carry oxygen. We need oxygen for fatty acid metabolism. So if you're burning fat for fuel, you need oxygen. So you need more red blood cells to deliver oxygen. Well, along with that oxygen comes, of course, the electron transport chain working faster. So we need CoQ10. So if we have more red blood cells delivering more oxygen, that equals more potential energy and more potential waste where we need coenzyme Q10. So pairing heart and kidney together work very, very, very well. Now, when you look at nerve formation too, vitamin B12 is very important for myelin sheath formation, which is the sheath that forms on the outside of a nerve, making sure that we send a proper signal to an organ or to a muscle or you name it. Then we have vitamin B2, which people don't really talk too much about, especially in the keto and carnivore community, because it is so much focused on glucose metabolism. Guess what? You still have glucose metabolism happening, very much so, via gluconeogenesis, long complicated pathways. Point is, if you have high amounts of B2, then you can become more efficient at the cellular level at utilizing that glucose, which means your body doesn't need as much floating around. You want efficiency. So vitamin B12 and B2 are super important. So kidney and heart work really well together. FYI, we're going to talk about liver in just a second, but my friends over at Paleo Valley have an organ blend complex that's really, really cool that is a combination of liver, heart, and kidney. So if you are interested in checking them out, there's a special link down below so that you can get that in a supplement form so you don't have to be taking the actual meat source in as much. I still, at the end of the day, recommend eating it in a meat source once a week if you possibly can. But at least taking it in a daily supplement form, you can feel like you're getting the vitamins and getting the minerals that you need, and at least the antioxidants, to kind of sustain that overall effect. So highly recommend you check them out. Special link for all my fans, my followers, people that watch my videos. They're a big supporter of this channel as well, so a big thank you to Paleo Valley as well. So check them out. Now let's go ahead and let's move into liver. Liver is the big one, all right? Almost everyone you see that's in the keto or carnivore community will talk about eating a little bit of liver for the benefit. That's great, but you really should be combining it. Anyhow, the liver is high in a bioavailable form of vitamin A known as retinol A. Okay, this is preformed vitamin A, meaning it doesn't need to be formed in the body, so it's ready to be used. Okay, retinol A forms RXR and RAR, which ultimately bind to specific receptors that regulate gene expression. So at the overall DNA level, okay, when we are trying to form new genetic habits, if you will, we need this stuff. We need vitamin A. Vitamin A, in addition to being good for your eyes, of course, is so critical to everything within our bodies. And the problem is we naturally get very depleted in it, especially if we're taking a synthetic form of vitamin D. Okay, now I recommend taking vitamin D. So you're probably thinking that I'm a total hypocrite because I'm telling you that vitamin D is going to deplete your vitamin A. It's just the way it is. So you really should be trying to get as much vitamin A in your diet if you're consuming vitamin D in a synthetic form. That's why I generally say, no matter what, try to get vitamin D in a whole food form, okay, getting it from fish or whatever, because if you get your vitamin D that way, it doesn't deplete as much of your retinol A. If you take a copious amount in through a synthetic form, it can deplete vitamin A, which isn't the end of the world as long as you're getting enough retinol vitamin A in. And that's exactly where I do recommend eating liver, or at least taking it in a supplement form, even a few times per week. But then we look at energy production for a second. So vitamin A is the big thing, but I want to touch on choline and zinc for 1 minute. Super high in choline too, which is a precursor to what's called acetylcholine. And that's just critical for neurotransmitter development, for brain function, and for developing what's called neuroplasticity. So really, really important just for creating new neural pathways. And it's something that we overlook, but remember, it all starts here. And then I want to touch on immune system for just a second, because zinc is very hard to come by unless you're eating the right kind of nuts all the time, which quite frankly, they kind of chelate themselves so the minerals don't get absorbed as well anyway, or you're eating a bunch of mollusks or a bunch of shellfish all the time. So zinc plays a role in the immune system by making sure that the immune system stays in check. Okay, the immune system can overreact when it responds to a virus or responds to bacteria, right? So what we want to focus on is making sure that the immune system doesn't go so overboard that you have too much of an inflammatory response that causes you to get super, super sick. That's where things like pneumonia, bronchitis, things like that can come in, because symptoms get so bad that they develop a life of their own, and there's this cytokine storm, this chemical storm that occurs. So zinc is very, very good at just modulating that. So again, when you're looking at it in a supplement form or just in the full food form, that's definitely going to be a thing to do. So words to the wise, what I would recommend generally is at least 1 time per week, try to get liver in. Okay, the nice thing with liver is because it's so fat soluble, you really do only need to eat a couple ounce serving like once a week, and you'll be okay with that. Okay, then when it comes down to kidney, because it's so water soluble, you really should be consuming it more frequently, which is tough because it's not the easiest thing to get your hands on. And heart, probably 2 to 3 times per week, but again, it's somewhat fat soluble, so the coenzyme Q10, you're gonna get that benefit kind of lasting a little bit longer. Again, you can eat it in those servings, but you can also take supplemental form in between to make sure that you're at least keeping blood levels somewhat stabilized. Organ meat is not bad. I know it sounds scary, I know it sounds daunting, I know it sounds ominous, but trust me, it's part of life and it's something that our bodies were designed to process. I'll see you soon.
Scrub-a-dub, scrub-a-dub. Toot toot. You had a little hair on your nose. All aboard, the sun is down, the goodnight train is leaving town. Find your sleepers, grab your teddy, climb right up, and your bed is ready. I can't read.